Problem statement. How do composers employ literal and figurative language as well as images to represent history and memory? Make reference to Mr. and Tan's texts in their respective form within your response.
Tan tells us a story about a man leaving his family to work overseas through images and drawings with a sepia filter. It is used to give a worn-out look as if it was some sort of photography journal, as film strips usually have a warmer undertone like the sepia filter. The sepia filter gives the audience an idea of when the story was told, as well as the illustrations by the clothing of the people as well as the surroundings of the character. All the illustrations have a metaphorical meaning behind it. In example 1, you see this image of the man with a suitcase. In this artwork, the man obviously packed his belongings from home. When he opens the suitcase, he gets nostalgia by smelling the scent of his clothes or generally just looking at the items he has. In this artwork, the man is a salient image and his eyes creates a vector line which helps the audience attention go towards the suitcase. Inside his suitcase, we can see his daughter and wife, which shows a visual representation of his memories, and his facial expression shows how happy he is by remembering this certain memory or just the thought of his daughter and wife made him smile. In example 2, you see the man looking at a photo of his family. In this illustration, it shows us the man's close relationship with his family. The illustration is mostly dark, but the photo of him and his family is the brightest part of the illustration. The black symbolizes how lonely he feels, whilst the frame being the lightest part of the illustration. It symbolizes how he shouldn't feel lonely because his family is with him, not physically, but mentally and spiritually.
In Act 1, Scene 3, Sheila records being picked up by a Japanese ship. She doesn't see the flag, but they notice her anyway and eventually pick them up. In this scene, John Mister uses emotive language to tell us how Sheila and Bridie feel. They're tired, waterlogged, and they don't care about what's going on anymore. They want to be saved, and they eventually get their wish, although it isn't what they hoped. This can be seen in the quote, "How did you feel when you realized? Too tired to care." Mister also shows us how they feel with stage direction. Sheila instinctively reaches out to take Bridie's hand. They hold hands, and once again they both look very vulnerable. We hear Japanese voices on the soundtrack.
Act 1, Scene 1, first page of the entire play. I guess I wanted to be like my dad. He'd been a soldier in Egypt. This gives us an important insight into Bridie's life before the war, as it shows us how she grew up as well as how she responded to her lifestyle. It told us how her ambitions and goals in life and who her role model was. This line becomes even more relevant as we see later in the play how polite and patriotic Bridie is in her everyday activities. Furthermore, there is a line in Act 1, Scene 1, the part of the play where the two women, Sheila and Bridie, prank Lipstick Larry, and Bridie takes the fall, even though she knows the consequence. This shows her development as a character, as well as the morals she is willing to give up, and as well as those morals that she is willing to maintain to survive the adversities of the war.